Und nun zum Wetter. Heute werden es frühlingshafte MX5 Grad. Die Regenwahrscheinlichkeit liegt bei unter MX5% und die Sonne scheint mindestens MX5 Stunden.
Nichts wie Roadstern. Am besten im legendären Mazda MX5. Schon ab 109 € monatlich. Jetzt mehr Infos zum Angebot auf Mazda.de. Mazda.
Blog Talk Radio.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to this program about your Kundalini. My name is Chrism, and I'm just going to jump right on in like I usually do. But first, one thing I've got to do first is do a little sound check here with the people in the chat room. So if Tim or David or Alana Seeker or Andrew can let me know if thank you, David. Thank you very much, everybody. Okay, we will just go right on into it then. Gratitude to all of you in the chat room. Gratitude to everyone who is listening right now on Facebook, on some of the large groups on Facebook. Hello, everybody. In the future, the archive people, the people that check the archives, because it's so late in the day in Sweden and Norway and Finland and India and parts of Romania and Italy. Greece, it's pretty late there, and so they get to check this program out in their next daytime, which would be tomorrow. So hello to all of you, and gratitude is the theme. So what is it that you are grateful for your Kundalini bringing into your life? For me, I can say that it's just an incredible sense of completion, a sense of oneness, a sense of the actual living divinity within you. I mean, I get to feel this all the time. And it's an accentuator as well. It accentuates love. It accentuates the different forms of noble behaviors like generosity and kindness and compassion and caring. And it gives you a blueprint, a new blueprint to live your life through or to live your life by. And it allows you to understand that hatred and greed and revenge and inflicted pain, inflicted hurt upon others for no reason than maybe some of the other qualities I just mentioned, like revenge, that these do not serve us anymore. An eye for an eye does not serve us anymore, certainly not within the Kundalini. And so right now we're looking at gratitude and how our gratitude can be expressed to the Kundalini, but not yes, you can go directly to the Kundalini with it, and I do suggest that. But I also know that by your behaviors of gratitude, say to your parents or to your brother, your sister, the stranger that helped you out when your car broke down, or the people that left you money or left you a way to survive, say some kind of a disaster, the people that really helped you out, by showing them gratitude at the same time, you're showing the Kundalini gratitude as well. And because it is so much about interact with each other, which is what the Kundalini is teaching us to do. She's teaching us a new way of interacting with each other. And this rest what allows our evolution to occur. Certainly, our Kundalini evolution to occur. And so it's very important for us to understand that as we are in gratitude with others who have helped us, so at the same time are we showing our gratitude to the Kundalini. Gratitude is a form of love. It is a form of actualized grace. It is something that you can choose to do. Think about that. It's something you can choose. You can choose to be grateful right now. You can choose to have gratitude for the Kundalini, for your workmates, for actually having work, for people that you know, your friends, your family. That you can have gratitude for a perfect stranger right now. Think of some stranger that did a kindness, even if it was just letting you cross the street. Gratitude is easily accessible right now, and I really want you to, and it's interesting. You know, and I don't know, maybe this is just social programming on my part, I don't know, but, you know, a day after tomorrow in the United States, we have a holiday that's called Thanksgiving, and this is a holiday all about gratitude, being grateful for the things that have been given to you, or that people have helped you with, or, you know, and it goes back to the story of the Pilgrims and the Indians. And even though that one winter, maybe the first few winters went well, it didn't end well for the Indians. And you know, that is a stain. That's an actual stain on the people that have fomented dissent towards different races. And I'm really grateful to the Kundalini for giving us this eye in the sky, so to speak, this ability to look at a larger picture, to see the interaction with the different races, and how in one social epoch a certain race is given a level of dominancy, and in another social epoch another different race is given dominancy. And if you look back at any of the information about Atlantis, well, the Native American type of race was in charge of that civilization, and they were given the advantage of that time. And then before them, and almost actually interacting with them, the Lemurians were also given a primacy upon this world over other people. You know, and so it you know, the world keeps on turning, the wheel keeps going round, and the different racial varieties, the different racial types are given an experience of being a dominant upon this world, and each race gets its fair share. Nobody gets more than the other, and that includes the amount of karma that is made. And so Kundalini gives us this amazing overview of the evolutionary complexities of life and civilization with Homo sapien as it has developed upon this planet. You know, she shows you that yes, the people were there during the age of the dinosaurs. No, science is not correct. You know, people were riding triceratops and you know, and being killed by dinosaurs. I mean, this is a real thing. This is, you know, and just for proof of that, you know, one need only go to the Ica or the Ica stones in southwestern Peru, and you know, these are a library of that ancient race, that ancient Peruvian race, and in this library were thousands and thousands of stones that had pictures on them, pictures showing a person riding a triceratops, and pictures showing, you know, brain surgery and heart surgery and all the different types of achievements that society was able to create for themselves. And so, you know, and these stones are very, very, very old. They're not, you know, the paint, none of that is modern. And this was found in a cave. That was a sealed up cave, and an archaeologist found it. And when he started to bring it out into the world, well, it was very bad for him and for other people I had a student who was down there trying to bring out that information about 30 or 40 years ago, and he was actually harassed by the United States government because at that time they did not want that information coming out because it would topple the assumptions and the programming that have been passed down to us, throughout the last century. Following Darwin's idea of evolution, which is true. I mean, Darwin had it right. He just didn't have the whole picture. He had part of it. And so the powers that be here in the United States gave that person a really, really hard time and kind of selected him for certain types of microwave punishment, things like that, to really kind of mess up his life so that information would not come out. And he was actually warned verbally not to tell anybody about the ecostones. And so that, the ecostones are just one of many different windows into the past of what this planet and the human being have gone through. And I'm grateful to the Kundalini for giving us this window without having to go down to Peru and dig up an Ica stone. Or I don't know if it's Ica or Ica. So I'm trying both ways right now. Ica sounds better for me. I mean, but whatever. You can look it up. You can look it up on the internet. It's ICA, I believe, or ICHA. And they'll tell you all about them. And the unfortunate part of that story is that the doctor who found them, he started to paint some stones himself, and which totally turned his entire discovery into some sort of a fabrication. And that was really unfortunate. I think it's probably money motivated or something like that. But the initial finds can be carbon dated and have been carbon dated, and I forget how many years old there are, but thousands of years old, literally. And then, of course, we have the Egyptian caves in the Grand Canyon, Arizona, California, or Arizona, United States. And this is an understanding that the Egyptians did indeed have the ability to travel to the North American continent and to set up these temples inside of certain caves. And to this day, if you go to the Grand Canyon, you'll see that many of the monuments are named after Egyptian deities. Think of that. That is not a coincidence. And I'm grateful to the Kundalini for giving that level of insight and that level of intuitive guidance and wisdom to me, so that for the ability to understand beyond what the fabrications of the powers that be would choose to have me believe. They would have me believe that Christopher Columbus discovered the New World, and that if you just follow the line of programming, the incorrect programming right now, down the line there. I was going to school in the 60s and grammar school in the 60s, and that level of understanding was pretty much what they were teaching. They didn't care that the Vikings were here like centuries before Christopher Columbus. They didn't care about that. They didn't care that Christopher Columbus spread numerous diseases amongst the Native American populations, literally wiping out millions of people. They didn't care about mentioning that. They just didn't care. People tend to, a certain level of non-inquisitive people will tend to just believe what they're told and then teach that belief that they've been told to others because it was written down in a book, and therefore it must be true. Think about that. Think about how that has, created some challenges for people in society. And I'm grateful for Kundalini, illustrating levels of truth that have been hidden from me and from other populations. I mean, it's really, really nice to be able to know that this force is a force of truth. It is a force of truth. It is a force of honesty, and I'm grateful for that truth and that honesty. And so I'd like you to look into your heart right now and see where it is that you're grateful for the Kundalini. What's the first thing that comes to you? Is it your excellent health that the Kundalini most often will bring to people? Is it your expanded levels of intuition? Is it this level of divine sensation that you have all the time, if you have it? Where is your gratitude? What is happening with your gratitude, and how is that facilitating your life right now? And I have Alana Seeker speaking on the chat room, and she says, "Do you think elongated skulls in South America and or elsewhere have anything to do with Kundalini?" Well, I know that some of the cultures, certainly in Africa and I believe in South America as well, would artificially elongate the skull by binding. They would bind the skull with leather and with wood. They would use the wood to bind the skull, and that would make the skull look elongated. Now, they found skulls that are abnormally large, that are not human skulls. And so, did that have to do with the Kundalini, the elongation? I think that may have had more to do with mimicry. I think the people perhaps encountered those creatures that had the very large elongated skull, much like some of the Egyptian gods and kings and pharaohs, Akhenaten being one. He had an elongated skull, and so did various royal people. I don't know if those were artificial or not in that culture. But I do know that even today, there are cultures there that are binding skulls and, going for the whole elongated skull thing, and it's a cultural thing for them, but I don't know that it directly ties into the Kundalini at all. Alana Seeker, I don't know that would be helpful for Kundalini either. I went to bed last night and had tremendous levels of spiking going through my fontanelle and into the corona above my fontanelle. Just tremendous levels of energy going out, and it was painful to have that. Even now, 28 years into this, to have such levels of painful spiking coming out. It just continues and continues and continues, and I don't know that an elongated skull would help that or hurt that. Now, Alana Seeger also says, I wonder about trepanning, and I don't know what trepanning is, so you'll have to clue me in on that, Alana Seeker. And then, so look into your heart. Look into your heart and see where it is you can find levels of gratitude for the vast gifts of the Kundalini. I mean, to be able to see the truth of the past, to be able to witness in your mind's eye through the different history book that Kundalini provides you, is an amazing experience. It's an amazing experience, and you've got to trust it. You've got to trust it. And I'm being told right now to make sure that it is the Kundalini that you're trusting and not an entity that you may have collected, throughout your current life or other lives that is coming on with you and trying to find some way to distort your reality by glomming on to the idea that, history of this world is not as we seek it, and then it will try to insert some sort of another corrupted version in order to serve its own purpose of corruption. And so you want to be very, very clear that it's your Kundalini that is showing you these pictures or giving you this information. And you'll feel it. You'll feel the veracity of the truth, ladies and gentlemen. You'll know without a shadow of a doubt that it's the Kundalini. I mean, an entity can give you a telepathic communication, and it can be very convincing. So, yes, Chrism is right, and he did this and that, and yes, this version of history is right, but then the entity will try to add something else to it. But Chrism does not know this about that, or, some sort of a thing. And it will try to steer you away from the truth. It'll try to steer you away from believing what you're told by your Kundalini. So you want to be careful with that. You want to be very, very, very discerning. And anyway, so I want to go ahead and give you the opportunity now. If you want to call in just to say what you're grateful for, the number is 347-934-0026. Area code 347-934-0026. What are you grateful for with regards to your Kundalini? How has it helped you? How has it allowed you to expand? What has it done for you? Now, I know that for a lot of people, the Kundalini has crashed their pre-Kundalini life. They have gone through levels of destruction and reformation, only to experience more destruction of their ego, and because our lives are so intertwined with ego, not just our ego, but the ego of society, the ego of our mother and our father, our brothers, our sisters, our friends, our workmates. Everybody's ego is kind of wrapped into the other person's ego, and it's like these roots of a redwood tree where they all kind of combine under the ground and communicate with each other. And here we are, with the Kundalini. The Kundalini is saying, oh, no. You don't get to have that ego-bound consciousness anymore. You don't get to buy into what your friends are buying into, or what your family's buying into, or what your workmates are buying into. No, you have to buy into this level of truth now. And you'll work and you'll work and you'll work and you work, and you're able to buy into that level of truth, and she destroys it again, saying, nicely done. Now let's go up to another higher level of truth. And so on it goes over and over and over. We're given a platform. She helps us build a platform, only to destroy the platform and demand that another one, an even higher one, is built. And this is the way of things. We are only able to stand on a platform of information for a certain amount of time before she infuses us with more information. I'm extremely grateful for that. I mean, she had me in the beginning of my process because there were no books and there were no radio shows like this. There was no internet. Cell phones were about as large as your car. And I had the Kundalini, and I was literally, I thought I was going crazy with it. It's just like, oh my God, how do I communicate with this force? And she would lead me into a used bookstore, and I would be told to get a certain kind of book. And as I mentioned in other shows, for a long time, she had me reading Tuesday Lobsang Rampa for the Tibetan perspective on this. And so I really, and I studied those books very, very hard, and they were very helpful. And then, she would bring me into other levels of New Age that I found very helpful. Richard Bach is one of them, the Jonathan Livingston Seagull author. He was another good author that I read. This is back in the early days. You probably have never heard of these books. Maybe some of you have. But yeah, I was very grateful. She would give me a level. So, for instance, with the Tibetan information, I was able to build up a platform of Tibetan information. And then, boom, she just blew it away and started directing me to build another platform that was more cantilevered towards this society, my society, the American society, the Western European American society. And once that was built, and then she'd narrow it down again, and I wonder if this has happened for anybody else here, in the chat room and who might be listening on Facebook right now. And let's see, Michelle Ranger is asking. She says, if you wanted us to read a book, what would it be? It would be my website. It's called Kundalini Awakening Systems 1.com. I would like you to read that book. And if you really want to get into a really boring book, then I would have you read my Facebook page, because that goes back to like 2007, and it has a lot of information on it too, very similar to the website. Now, if you want a book that has pages and things of that nature, well, because a lot of, I would say the autobiography of a yogi by Yogananda would be a good one to read, because he definitely had the Kundalini. You can still feel his Kundalini down there at his ashrams in Southern California. Looking through it again, got my eyes closed, just kind of like going back. Gopi Krishna's work is good, but his Gopi Krishna, the Kundalini, the evolutionary energy in man, is basically, it chronicles all the mistakes that he made with the Kundalini. Very similar to me. He was in big resistance of it, and he wasn't surrendering to it, and yet it was still with him, and he was having a really, really hard time with it, and it was kind of dissolving his life as he was living it, and so when you read that book, the title that I just gave you by Gopi Krishna, you want to read it with that in mind. Because otherwise it just turns into like a Kundalini horror novel, and Kundalini is not a horror novel. It's a manual on how to begin to live your life differently than you've been living it, and so you need to look at Gopi Krishna's book that way. Yogananda's book, it's steeped in Hinduism, and which is fine. Hinduism is a very, very beautiful belief system. But it's not the belief system of everybody. And so, but if you're interested in reading a book about Hinduism and the autobiography of a yogi, then that's a great book to start with. And he does, have Kundalini qualities throughout that book. A direct book about Kundalini, no. There aren't that many, to be honest with you. Nothing that is worthwhile. A lot of them will just give basically a description of what you can expect with the Kundalini, like some of the major things, the major movements and whatnot. But no, I don't have anything that I would really be over the top to suggest you to read in that, except those websites. I would definitely have you read those. And Atlanta Seeker is going back to the last subject. She says, trepanning is a surgical intervention in which a hole is drilled or scraped into the human skull, exposing the dura mater. It says, in ancient times, holes were drilled into a person who was behaving in what was considered an abnormal way to let out what they believed. Ouch! To let out what they believed were evil spirits. But I don't know how that really know why it was done. Yikes! Jeez, Louise, I don't know what to say to that. Not a good thing. not a good thing. Opens everything up to infection. So yeah. What, Andrew? You've experienced the trepanning. Is that what you're saying? Oh, look, we got some really cool people here on the chat room group. Good to see you all. So, what are you grateful for, ladies and gentlemen? And one thing I want to say before you start burning up the telephone, like I know you won't do. I'm going to say that I am very grateful to Centaur Kundalini for creating this program, for supporting this program, paying money from her, from the treasury of the ancient kings of O'Connor in Ireland, and so I'm very grateful for her presence on this program and for her support of this program. And I'm going to bring her on right now, and there she is. Hello.
Here she is. Hi, Chrism. Hi, everyone. Hi, chat room people and people in the archives. It's great to see the chat room so filled with wonderful people. Hi, everyone. Hi, Chrism.
Hi.
Hi.
Let's see. David says on the chat room, he says, "Hi, I'm grateful." He didn't say hi. I said that. He says, "I am grateful to the Kundalini for not giving up on me after so many years of unheard teachings and unheeded warnings and signs and synchronicities that I failed to respond to." Oh, yeah, boy, I can relate to that. He continues, "I'm grateful to the Kundalini for not abandoning me during my dark night of the soul and the fragmentations, even though it felt like it at the time." And wow, that's great. And Tanjira says, "I am grateful for you and all the Kundalini family and friends I've come to love since joining the group." And we are grateful for you, Tanjira. Absolutely, without a doubt. Majorly grateful. And that goes for Shakina and Andrew and Del Solananda and everybody that we met there at the last seminar in Minnesota. So really, really, really grateful to meet all of you. And then the new people who have Ovaltine 8 here, and we've got some guests here. So grateful for you to come on the chat room and join us today. And so if you have any questions, any gratitudes that you'd like to place into this conversation, I welcome that. And if you also want to call up, you can call it 347-934-0026. And what are you grateful for, Centaur, as far as your Kundalini?
Oh, wow. I'm grateful for her presence within me, her living presence in me, her direction and control of my life, the way she's expanded my reality, Chrism, and just every moment that she's with me. And I feel great gratitude as well for the opportunity that, I can surrender to her. It's like, gratitude is so involved as well with devotion to her. Like, gratitude is part of my devotion. It's part of my love for her and that living presence. I'm so aware of that living presence in me. It's tactile and it's just beautiful. And I'm grateful for how much she's changed me. And for you, I'm grateful for you as my teacher. I'm grateful for so many things. My life is so different now. And I do feel gratitude all the time. It's like, thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you,
Yeah, no, I totally understand. And how is your life different?
Oh, my God. I can't even begin, Chrism. Well, from what aspect am I going to talk to you about? Am I going to talk about, from what perspective? I mean,
you choose
from what?
You choose what part you're going to talk to me about.
Okay. Well, let's talk about, I could talk about the social side of my life. That is totally different now. I, like, for a while, it looked like I had a lot of loss of friends and social life and stuff like that, but now I don't. I've got, she's brought me into living a life of service, really, and it's beautiful. I mean, most of the people that I'm with now, even in social life, it's a service. I can feel that within me, and externally in how I live my life, and that's a very different way to how I used to live my life. Not just in the things that I do that are, that you can label service. Let's say, the voluntary work that I might do, but not just that. In just everything that I do during my day. The ordinary things, going to the shop and just living my life and interacting with people in a different way. I wouldn't have lived like that before.
What about the fact that the Kundalinis come to your children and to your husband, and how has that affected you in that way? Like Blondie.
Well, that hasn't affected me hugely, really, to be honest. It's affecting her. I mean, my role there, Chrism, is I'm grateful for it for her, but it's something that I am observing in my daughter and in my husband, and she gives me very much how to be present with them. So I'm not pushing it. I'm there for them, supportive, giving them information when they ask me for it, or sometimes, and it's not even information. Well, it's just being with them in a way that my Kundalini gives for me. So it's not impacting. That's their journey, and I'm with them in it. And I'm grateful that they're coming into that. I think if I had to think about that maybe a few years ago, I would have my expectation would have been different. I would have thought I'd be all excited but no, I'm not. It's different when it actually happens, and when she's working through them. So I'm grateful for it, but I'm sort of apart from it as well. As well as being with them, but apart. It's kind of cool. It's beautiful, really. It's like watching it. It's like watching. It's like watching a flower.
I don't have
Sorry?
family members that are even in any way, shape, or form anywhere close to even wanting to know the meaning of the word Kundalini. And so like after tomorrow, I will drive. We'll have a big family thing, and there's always this. When it comes to me, there's this elephant in the room that we're not speaking about.
Yeah. And you see, you probably imagine, well, if they were, wouldn't it be amazing? But if they were, it's like watching a flower, Chrism, It's like watching a flower growing. So what can you say about that, That's what it's like.
What do I say about watching a flower growing?
Yeah, it's beautiful, but it's not how I imagined it would be. Like if you were to think, if one of your family suddenly became interested, you'd imagine it might be.
One interesting development along that line is my little niece Allison called me up a couple of weeks ago, and I never hear. Matter of fact, I think this is the first time she's called me ever, and she's 18 and she's going to the University of Las Vegas or Nevada, Reno, I think, something like that. And she wanted to interview me, and I said, "Oh, really? Why do you want to interview me?" She said, "Well, I'm doing I have to do an interview with somebody for my journalism class and a podcast, and I thought hearing you speak about Kundalini would be interesting." that came out of the blue. That was that was kind of shocking to me because for 18 years since she was born, I didn't really speak about what I do. When I come to the family reunion, I just kind of go with the flow of what everybody else is doing, but I really don't talk about what I'm doing. And they know that I go to these different countries and I'm traveling, but and I can talk a little bit about that, but I definitely don't talk about what I'm doing there in those countries.
And have you had the interview with her yet?
Huh?
Have you had that interview yet? Did she interview you yet?
Oh, yeah. She interviewed me for about, almost an hour. And
how did
it's the normal extemporaneous. What's that?
How did it go, from the perspective of being a family member? And
well, what happens is the Kundalini kind of steps in. And the Kundalini steps in and begins to explain itself to a person that is not, well versed in it at all. And so that's what occurred. And that typically always goes well, except when I'm under certain levels of stress or something like that. And I'm like in the London conference when I was trying to figure out the damn video projector thingy there, which I can't even pronounce right now. That's really, really distracting, and it really takes you out of your flow. But so Allison's interview went really well. It went very, very well, and I don't know if she got an A or an F, but I guess I'll find out day after tomorrow. Yeah, that was interesting. That was a very interesting development for my family. And do the Irish people have anything like Thanksgiving? No.
No, we don't have Thanksgiving. No, we do not. We have unfortunately adopted.
You guys aren't grateful for anything then, huh?
You mean I'm not going to even go there? I just felt a temptation to be really mean about Thanksgiving, but no, I'm not going there.
Because of the Indians and all that.
I'm not doing it. No, we don't have a Thanksgiving, but we have unfortunately, Chrism, adopted this blinking Black Friday thing.
Oh,
I think that
you got the Black Friday without the. Oh my God.
Yeah, it's that has started in the last 2 years or so. It's so absurd. But anyway. No, we don't have Thanksgiving. We have. Yeah. Continue. Sorry.
What do you explain to your kids when you're saying, "Oh, it's Black Friday"? Well, Mommy, how come they call it Black Friday?
Oh, I don't even go there. It's just happening. It's black. I don't know. It's absurd.
They just had to pick a color, honey.
Yeah.
Oh, that's funny. Wow.
Yeah.
You
So
guys
it
got
is
Halloween
your Thanksgiving this weekend. Yeah. It's Thanksgiving there this weekend, isn't it?
It's Thanksgiving on Thursday. This Thursday. Oh, I guess it's tomorrow. Oh, damn.
Well, that
I'm glad I
would be
remember.
tomorrow.
Yeah, it's tomorrow. You know what? This whole week's been really strange for me. I've been a day off this whole week. It's been very strange for me. It's been happening for the last week and a half, actually. Where you think all day that it's like, let me tell you what happened yesterday. I spent all morning yesterday getting ready for the radio show.
Huh?
Which was not yesterday. It was today.
No.
How messed up is that? Thank you for the video. Oh my God, yes.
That's really screwed up. And 2 weeks ago, do you remember? Was it 2 weeks ago? The week that I came back from, I arrived 3 hours before the show, jet lagged, and you thought it was the next day.
I was correct.
Remember you told
me. I was like,
Tuesday.
oh, yeah.
Wow.
I
That's
think I'm
funny though. So, yeah, I think so.
I think by the end of this year, I'm just going to totally have to turn the show over to Amelia and or to Santara Kundalini, and she'll have to just take the show from there. I'll wind up in the senility home, telling everybody that I have Kundalini, and they'll be going, here, take this pill, you'll be fine.
Well, we'll just have to get an alarm or something on your phone, like I do with my dad.
I'll have to wear a necklace. Your name is Chrism. Your name is Chrism.
Yeah. Today is Wednesday. Blog Talk.
It is Wednesday, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, okay, I'm kind of done with the monologue here, whatever that was, if you could call it that.
Okay.
And so have you collected any questions?
Yes, I certainly have. Not a huge amount, but let me go there. Here we go. There are 2 questions that came in privately. One of them is from the groups anyway, Chrism, but I'll read the first one that isn't on the groups, and here we go. There's a couple of questions came in from the same gentleman. A person practices the safeties prior to Kundalini awakening. So what should he do after the spinal sweep? What should he practice after Kundalini awakening?
The safeties. The safeties are good before and after the spinal sweep. One aspect of the safeties will lead a person to the spinal sweep. The other aspect of the safeties allows a person to live the Kundalini life after the spinal sweep. I don't know, the gentleman maybe has things a little misconstrued. I don't know, but the safeties are for the activation and for the awakening. So, for instance, as you practice ahimsa or you practice gratitude or forgiveness is an ongoing process. Tolerance is an ongoing thing. I mean, whether you're awakened or not, you've got to practice tolerance. You've got to practice gratitude. You've got to practice forgiveness. These things don't just stop once you've had the spinal sweep. That is, never get that into your head. The noble qualities persist from zero into infinity. There is no end game. The light at the tunnel does not say, okay, you don't have to practice the noble qualities anymore. You can be an asshole. This is the Kundalini expanded asshole time. No. So you must, the safeties are to be practiced in perpetuity. Now, after the awakening or the spinal sweep, you can really, tremendous amounts of energy are being pumped through your energetic anatomy. And at those times, you may not want to do the 5 Tibetans. You may not want to do any pranayama, alternate nostril breathing. You may not want to do any meditation. You may not want to do any praying. You may not want to do these things. And those are indeed part of the safeties, but sometimes it's just too much energy. And you'll be like me laying in bed last night with having a huge amount of energy, flowing through the top of the head to the point where you're laying there with this weird fontanelle-based headache. And typically I don't get headaches. I'm not a headache-prone person. I never got migraines or anything like that. The only time I get headaches is when I'm dealing with, Santara. And then, just kidding. I absolutely love Santara. She's the cream on the pudding. She's the cream on the on the white pudding and the black pudding.
Black pudding.
Yum. So yeah, you always do the safeties or permutations of the safeties. So, for instance, if you have that huge level of energy coursing through you, don't do the 5 Tibetans, ladies and gentlemen. that just adds a whole another layer of voltage, to your energetic anatomy. Sometimes you need to back off of those. And this is for those after the spinal sweep, not before. Not before the spinal sweep, unless you're getting a really, really bad headache because of the amount of energy. Sometimes when we're practicing the safeties, we will, instead of spinning 21 times, we'll spin like 32 times or 64 times or whatever it is. We'll spin far more than we should. And then we'll try to pull that energy up into the second, then energy to the third, fourth, and fifth. And if we haven't done the ego work, you see, the ego work is tremendously important because it unlocks certain blockages within the body, certain blockages that are societally held or karmically held. And so as you do the ego work, this allows the energy to circulate in a much freer way. But if you haven't done the energy work, and you're building up all of this energy, then it's going to hurt. It's going to hurt. And so since you've already got the energy built up, you need to back off of the energetics. You need to back off of the generative energetic practices. And that includes everything that I mentioned, the 5 Tibetans, the pranayama, the meditation, the prayer. You may have seen me do this on the group when somebody comes in and says, "Oh, I've got so much energy, my head is going to explode," and blah, 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 so and then I say, just back off of everything. What are you doing? "Oh, I'm doing yoga, I'm doing prayer, I'm doing meditation, I'm drinking caffeine, I'm doing all these things." I say, "Well, stop doing all those things." And so, and they do, they stop doing them, and literally within a few days, things get much better. And so it's very important for people to, one, continue to do the safeties, but after the spinal sweep, before and after spinal sweep, be very, very cognizant of your energetic anatomy. And, are you putting too much energy in, and are you doing too little ego work? I've been writing today on the group about trust. I've been writing about, trusting the flesh teacher, or trusting the Kundalini. And sometimes you won't be allowed to trust the flesh teacher because your blockage, your resistance to trusting another human being, even if they have Kundalini, your resistance to trusting that other human being is not going to allow you. You haven't done any work on that. And some of you who are my private students, because I'm really, really, really pushing you hard to do this work. And I'm saying, well, you must trust in areas that you've never trusted before. And this is true. This is true because trust is part of that ego work. And the more you do the ego work, the better flow of energy you have. The more flow of energy you have, the less opportunity that energy will have for getting stuck and giving you a headache or causing you to have energetic instability. So you must continuously work on the ego with the safety protocols by doing the noble qualities, by expressing the noble qualities upon yourself, upon your teacher, upon society, upon your family. That type of thing is very, very important. Over.
Thanks, Chrism. So the emotional safeties, you would never back off those, would you? I mean, they're
never back off the emotionals. No,
ever.
No.
Yeah.
You never back off of the emotionals. You never back off of the truth. You never back off of the forgiveness. You never back off of the gratitude. You never back off of the tolerance, the patience. These types of things are a constant level of practice, and the love for Kundalini, for creation, for all the different animals, insects, and species of life upon this world, including the rocks and those creatures that we have yet to discover in the atmosphere, the upper atmosphere. These types of creations all deserve our love and our care and our compassion. And this too must continue. Over.
Thanks, Chrism. The other question, part of that question is, who experienced realization when there is no ego left? Experiences. There's a question mark. So it's a language thing. So that's the question.
So you're saying, let me see if I can repeat it for you. You're saying, who experiences self-realization when there is no self to experience self-realization? Right?
Well, okay. No, because I'm not getting into defining self here. I'm going to just read what he says.
All right.
So, So would you comment on that, about no ego left? I mean, I think that's the main thing, really. So, who experienced realization when there is no ego left?
See, he makes the assumption that the ego is all there is. You see, his assumption just totally ruins his question, because ego is not all there is. Ego is one of 5 bodies. And like the other bodies, it has its fingers in the emotional body, the mental body, the psychological body, the spiritual body, and the physical body. But it's not the only body of expression. Now, I can understand why he might say it that way, because in our society, it seems like the ego is the only body of expression. But no, this is not true. We have the mental body. We have the higher functioning mental self. I mean, this body has, it has the emotions. It has its finger in every other body of expression except the ego body. And it is that is what begins to understand what is occurring within the experience of self-realization. And the emotional body is just in amazing orgasms of bliss. That body also knows what's going on. Okay? The spiritual body is opened up by the Kundalini, totally being changed by the Kundalini. That body knows what's going on. And of course, let's just talk about the physical body going through its paroxysms of ecstasy and bliss. The physical body knows something's up. The ego body is just one. The ego body is not the whole deal. And maybe the gentleman needs to kind of rearrange his thinking about what comprises the 5 expressions of human experience. I mean, it's not just the ego.
Okay. So can I just expand that a little bit and say, maybe is he suggesting that there comes a time when there is no ego left? That realization, self-realization comes when there is no ego left. And maybe
agree.
that's
I don't agree.
assumption.
I don't agree with that. I don't agree with that assumption.
Yeah.
I mean, what happens is the ego itself becomes realized.
Okay.
But that doesn't make it not an ego. It's just it is no longer an impediment to the process, but rather a supporter of the process. And so the ego itself becomes realized and understands and wants to help and is doing everything. It's very much like in the Huna tradition, the Huna religion. The ego, which translates to unihipiri, the ego wants to become a higher mental functioning self, which translates to uhane. So unihipiri wants to become uhane. Uhane wants to become amakua. Amakua is synonymous with the awakened Kundalini. And this is why many of the scientific or psychological community, they look at the Huna tradition and they go, wow, that's the most balanced religion in the world. Literally, in the world. And I can't disagree with them. I cannot disagree with them, especially as the way that it's been taught to me by that guy. What's his name?
Max Freedom Long.
Max
Freedom Long.
Freedom Long. And there's a book that I'll strongly suggest that you read. Read The Sacred Science by Max Freedom Long. Read any of the books that deal with Huna by Max Freedom Long and only by Max Freedom Long. I've read the other Huna books, and they're just not about it. Or they're more about whipping up Hawaiians' nationalistic pride so that haoles, which is what they call white people, so haoles cannot denigrate or steal their traditions. It's all pathetic. It's a bunch of ego. But Max Freedom Long, he was taught by the old Hawaiian kahunas, and back in the 20s, before Hawaii was a state, and they taught him true. And you'll see extreme levels of similarity with Kundalini when you look at some of the Huna teachings. So yeah. That would be definitely a book to read. Yes?
Chrism, what you were saying about the safeties. I mean, one of the things, and I've read some stuff by Max Freedom Long too, that book, and I think what the safeties does with the ego is that it kind of, by using them, it assists the ego into a position of, wanting to support what the Kundalini is doing. That's, I think, what the safeties are about, really, retraining the ego into a position where it moves, and it's quite amazing.
You don't want to kill the ego. You don't want to get rid of the ego. You don't want to do all these terrible things to the ego, except to retrain it and just give it an opportunity to support what is happening rather than resist it. And this is not the easy thing, the ego, because in our society, the ego is given free rein 99% of the time. Seriously, it's that degree of percentage. You look at the people around you, they're living from their ego. They're living from fear of loss and want of gain. And these are the trademarks of an egotistical expression. Fear of loss, want of gain. So greed, having an edge over another person, being able to collect as much money or property or possession as powerful. These are want of gain. Fear of loss. Fear in general, just the word fear, is a product of the ego. Fear of loss of safety, loss of life, loss of income, loss of, basically the disasters that Kundalini can bring upon us, because she wants us to get out of this loop of an identification with fear of loss. And so these are egotistic expressions. And for those of you that are wondering, well, how do I determine what is my ego and what is Kundalini? Well, all you got to do is this a want of gain or a fear of loss issue. And if you can qualify that within a want of gain or a fear of loss, then you're talking about the ego. Mm. And before we move on, Andrew writes on the chat room, he says, here's something. I had another weird experience in the middle of the night. I woke up and tried to roll over, and it's as if someone was reaching over and holding my wrist. I tried 3 times to roll over before I finally could. And was it your left wrist that somebody was holding on to? Andrew, if you can answer that question. And also, Tim Ashworth is writing. He says, "Hi, Atlanta Seeker. Having purchased the Thomas & Friends Trackmaster Escape set at half price from Smith's Toys, I assure you my vibrations of gratitude have increased rather than diminished." I guess it's about perspective. I'm not sure where we're coming at with that one, but okay. All right. I'm there with you, Tim. I must have missed something. Wait, I gotta go back. Half price or less. Wow.
No, I just think that's Tim.
Oh, I see. Yeah, Atlanta Seeger says, I think it's a shame that Black Friday, which is all about must acquire more.
Oh, okay.
Ruins the high vibrations of gratitude from the previous day. Thank you, Tim. That's funny. That's very good. That's very good. What did he get? Thomas and Friends Trackmaster Escape Set. I wonder what that is. Is it escaping the track? I don't know. Grateful for the bargains on Black Friday. So there you go, folks. There's the gratitude. Go ahead with the next question. Unless you have something else you want to say on that one.
Andrew says, I think so, to your question about was it your left wrist. He says, I think so. Can't remember for sure.
Okay.
To his question there. I remember Andrew mentioned something about having numbness and paralysis with his arm, and that he had to lift up his arm. It was a very weird experience, and it looks like this is another one here. He tried to roll over, and he tried to roll over a couple of times. I wonder if it's a form of sleep paralysis.
His arm changed. His arm changed into some weird blob of flesh.
Yeah, he couldn't. That happened
to me. It had
to
eyes in it and a mouth that was like.
No, it had not. It had not. It felt like a big blob of flesh, and he couldn't. I could be making this up now. Thinking of myself.
And I said something to the effect that entities just don't go away so quick. Something like that.
Oh, I didn't. I've been not understood very much.
Doing stuff that attracts entities, and even though that's not happening again anymore, I don't think it's very interesting to bring that up. It's once you say if you're an alcoholic, so you attract all these entities into your system, and you're an alcoholic, and and then you decide, well, I've decided I have Kundalini. I'm not going to do this anymore. No more alcohol. You quit it cold turkey. But for the next several weeks, if not months, you're still suffering from entity problems. And the entity problems are there because they don't just leave because you decide to stop drinking alcohol. Okay, that's it. You decide to stop drinking alcohol. They're not saying, okay, if you stop drinking alcohol, I'm going to leave. It's not. It doesn't work that way. It's kind of like once you catch the flu, well, the flu is going to run its course, and once you attract an entity, well, that entity presence upon you and within you is going to run its course. You're going to have to start doing the reversals. Now, with Andrew and his left arm, I think you're right. I think there's a level of healing that is being given to his left arm. That's why it was being hung on to. And just let it happen, Andrew. Stop insisting on rolling over.
Chrism.
Jeez, they gotta have it your way all the time.
But can I say something that might have nothing to do with this? But and maybe it's entities or with me. I can't remember. But going way back to the beginning of my process, and the early days anyway, I remember going through a phase, Chrism, where very like what is described. Areas of my body I could not move them. Now, slightly different from paralysis, where your whole body, you can't move. But like I would go to move over and it would be, let's say, as if my left arm was so heavy I couldn't move it. But it would only be through the movement of the rest of me that I'd realize I couldn't move it, like it was stuck or something. And it happened with my legs, but it was kind of like a form of paralysis, but it was the weirdest thing. And I don't know why. It passed. I mean, maybe it was entities. I certainly would have been drinking at the time, or not, had stopped drinking. I don't know. You were drinking pints.
You were drinking pint after pint after pint back then, weren't you?
Well, I'd have stopped. But again, yeah, I would have. I could down them all right. Yeah. So, I mean, I never thought of that. I mean, maybe it was, but can it be? I don't know. maybe it was entities. I always thought it was a form of paralysis.
The presence it will last longer than people think. Just because you put down the drink doesn't mean the entities put you down. You're the drink for the entity.
You're not. Yeah. Even if you're not aware of entity at that time.
Even if you're not aware, that's right. Because especially with a Kundalini person, has that energetic signal that's going off, saying, "Yeah, I've got Kundalini, but I'm really kind of lost in my ego right now, and I'm getting drunk every day." And so
I will see you spoil it. You spoil it by exaggeration. You're so bad.
What part was exaggerating?
We're not getting drunk every day, Chrism.
Oh, please. Oh my God. So you're so in denial.
I mean, really, stop. But can you, Andrew says here, yeah, I've had stuff like that occasionally over the last couple of years. So that being an entity, right? Can you, why would an entity...
No, there's a mixture of two things happening with Andrew.
Okay.
Part of it is the Shakti actually giving him a healing, and which is what I feel was happening last night. And so you got to let her hang on to your wrist, Andrew. If she wants to hold on to that wrist, you just let it happen. The other thing where the arm turned into this bulging blob of flesh with eyes and fangs and a mustache, well then, you can just kind of shake that arm a little bit and let that go. That's just there to scare you. That's all that is. It also shows a level of misshapen. Misshapen. When the arm comes to you in a misshapen form, it's also a lesson to let you know that, hey, this thing needs some healing. You need to give some attention to this. And the Shakti arm being the Shakti, she's representing herself through that left side and manifesting a certain level what is it? A certain level of warning to you. And how are you butting in, Tim Ashworth? I don't see you butting in at all.
He meant his comment, I think. No, it was cool. It was cool, Tim. He enjoyed it.
And so that's what I see happening with Andrew that way. With Ovaltine 8 came up and she says, or he or she says, now that you're talking about fear, I believe the thing I'm most grateful for with the Kundalini is I'm so much less afraid of all the silly things, of all the silly things I used to be afraid of. Not that I'm totally fearless now, but my anxiety and shyness have diminished. Well, that alone is great. That is great. And that, Tim, you feel free to jump on in anytime. It's good to read you. And Tim says, but I need to redo this every day. The spinal, Tim says, if I do deep breathing, my spine unclicks, but I need to redo this every day. Well, then, yeah, so you just redo it every day. Make it a part of your practice. And do the deep breathing. Definitely do the deep breathing. And do the safeties as well, Tim. For you, definitely all the safeties right now. All of them. Twice a day if you can. And next question, please.
I just want to say to Ovaltine 8 as well, I agree with you. I can be very grateful for that as well. I used to have a lot of fear. I mean, really a lot of fear. Fear of death, fear of a lot of things that I don't have anymore. And I am very grateful for that. Sometimes when it moves on, you forget.
We'll give you a fear of death. Yeah. We'll put you swimming out there with those white sharks off the coast. Then we'll see how brave you are.
No, but really, I had forgotten that. And that's huge, when you've lived with fears and anxieties and that's gone. That's something to be hugely grateful for. It is. And stop joking about sharks. Okay. Next question. Are we ready for it? Where is it? Okay, next question. Does anyone deal with pressure or mild pain in the head that comes and goes? I believe it's related to my thoughts and past trauma, which I'm trying to heal, but could use any suggestions on what others help to alleviate such sensations related to trauma in the body and how to release it. Thank you.
Well, first of all, they're assuming that it's related to trauma. Energetic flows in the body that give you a headache don't necessarily have to relate to any kind of a trauma, past or present. It can just be that the channels in the crown are having to be forcefully expanded. And like with me last night, my channels were being really, really expanded, and so that's going to cause you some pain. And the pain may be going on and on and on for a certain amount of time. And maybe what the individual needs to look at is forgiving that trauma and trusting the grace and giving service that is born of love and born of gratitude to Kundalini and the level of service we can give to another just based in that love and that consciousness of love. Maybe that's what that person needs to do. Over.
Thanks, Chrism. Now, this question came into my private thing to ask you, but also I think it was on the groups. I have so I'll read it. It's a little bit long, Chrism, so please bear with it. Okay, make a cup of tea. Sit down.
Let me get my popcorn, my organic free-range popcorn. Okay, go ahead.
Okay. Dear Chrism, I was feeling I got Shaktipat or some strong activation from you or the snakes you were holding in a dream I had the night after you counseled me on Skype in early October. And my question is if you are in agreement after hearing the following dream. Here's the dream. There was to be a ceremony at my house, and you were holding 2 snakes in your hand in front of me before a twin bed of raspberry colour and some blue. The ceiling was white with different shapes on it. The shapes were only over the bed, and one of the white shapes was cracked, and I put it back in place. Then you touched the snake on the right, on the top of its head, and then you touched it on the left side of its head face. Then other Kundalini people entered the room. I had strong kriyas and more lucid dreams after the snake dream. The next day, the Kundalini was outrageously active and I was in ecstasy all day. And a good friend suggested I go on meds because the day before you and I spoke, I was despondent about the disconnect with my daughter and was talking to this friend about the issue.
Did you lose your place?
Sorry, no. She interjected something. And then she goes on to say, I had intended to share this on the group, but I was a little bit hesitant. I was wondering, was there some kind of sexual meaning as well about some merging to take place because of the bed in the dream? And then I woke up.
Oh.
Will I read the dream again? Because
no, ahead.
Really, will I? I think I should
please do.
Sometimes we don't get such
explicit. Up a little bit.
Yay! Sometimes we don't get such explicit dreams, and this one has a lot of detail in it, So there was a ceremony at my house, and you were holding, Chrism, 2 snakes in your hand in front of me before a twin bed of raspberry colour and some blue. The ceiling was white with different shapes on it. The shapes were only over the bed, and one of the white shapes was cracked, and I put it back in place. Then you touched the snake on your right, on the top of its head, and then you touched it on the left side of its head. The other Kundalini people entered the room. I had more strong kriyas and lucid dreams after that. Snake dream. Then this is outside the dream. The next day, the Kundalini was outrageously active and I was in ecstasy all day. So much so that a good friend suggested that she go on meds because the day before she had been so despondent about her daughter. So this dream came after she had spoken with you, Chrism. She had the dream. The following day, she had loads of kriyas and things. So,
okay.
Her question is,
I got the question.
did she receive Okay, thank
you.
But
there's a very specific, there's a meaning to every little thing of that dream. It's not as straightforward as you might think. Because I think I had spoken with her before the dream. What does she say about the dream, about the experience with me before the dream?
Yes, Chrism, she says that you had spoken with her about her daughter the day before or that day, I'm not too sure, but almost immediately beforehand. She was extremely despondent until she spoke to you. And then she had the dream.
Okay, all right. Well, basically, my Shakti came into her Shakti, to her Kundalini, and devised a scenario that would allow her to experience these things. And touching the snake on the right, and then touching the other one on the left, on the head, and then, the very next day she's going into, really strong levels of bliss. That definitely, the conversation before the dream occurred released a blockage in her, and she was allowed to receive a greater gift of energy immediately thereafter. And that's what happened with the dream, is that she was given a greater level of Kundalini, starting with the sacred male, and the fact that there were two twin beds, and I assume they were separate, and there was a space between the two beds, kind of takes out of the whole, at least in my opinion, it takes out any sexual component. Okay. These are separate beds. Twin beds are separate beds. They're not together, right? Am I right?
Yeah. She says 8 twin beds. I don't know what that means, really. I love that it's raspberry and blue, though.
So were there 2 beds or 1 bed?
No, 8 twin beds of raspberry color and some blue. I get the impression it's 1 bed with these 2 colors upon it. Yeah.
Well, that's a Kundalini bed nonetheless, because on the left is the red and on the right is the blue, and as she lays down on that bed, boom, that's when the energy begins to flow into that individual. And I don't know about the oh, I do know. She just cleared that. Gosh, she's so instantaneous sometimes. With the objects on the ceiling, right?
White shape.
Yeah, and that she corrected it. She corrected it by listening to what I had to say about her daughter. That was fixing the crack in the object. Once that crack was fixed, that's when the Chrism in the dream touched the top of the right snake and then reached over and touched the left snake, and boom, that's when she began to have a level of infusion that she had not been able to receive before because of the crack in the object. And the object is basically the physical body. That's what it's representing. And as the body is over the bed, as far as I can, is that right? It's over the bed, right?
She doesn't speak about being on the bed. I don't know whether she was or just standing there, but you stood before her, so I don't know, Chrism. She doesn't say that.
Well, either way, it's within the domain of the Kundalini, within the body, and that's why she received such a strong gift. And blessings to her. Blessings to her for receiving it.
Oh, actually, she does say, she says, 2 of you were standing in front of the bed in the dream. Yeah, that's what she says. And it's exactly your sequence is right as well with the snakes. That's beautiful. And the red and the blue is the male female anyway, the divine masculine feminine, isn't it?
Right.
On the one bed as such, the merging. I mean, that's a gorgeous dream, isn't it? And for it to be so
It's great. It's a beautiful dream.
the way it happened. And the way it happened, Chrism, so it was a Shaktipat of, as such, a dream Shaktipat. Would that be correct? A strong activation, or is it?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Especially when a blockage is removed, it can be very, very, very helpful. Extremely helpful.
That's great. I must make sure she listens to that. Okay, so I'm going to go back to questions.
Now wait a
where
minute. A question from a caller here, and I'm going to go and bring them on here. I don't know who it is. Hello, caller, area code 289.
Hi, Chrism. It's Indra.
Hi, Indra. How are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing well. What's your question?
Good. My question is, something new has been happening. Okay, so I am still going into dreams like I used to, but something new is happening. I fell asleep about 4 nights ago, and I noticed that by my third eye, call it my third eye, but it feels like when I fall asleep, it's like a screen. And I'm going in, but I'm in a lucid sleep, and it feels like a screen, and I'm seeing things, and I'm seeing animals and trees and the universe and different things. I'm seeing it, but I'm seeing it like if it's a TV screen.
Like a TV screen, you say?
Yes.
Huh. Well, that's good.
So,
that's actually there to protect you. That's helping you to find a way to observe and to see things, and yet still stay grounded within the state of expectation, because you have a level of understanding that a TV screen, well, that's just for entertainment. That's just that's okay. I mean, you can watch the Brady Bunch.
Well, remember, I'm describing it like that, but that's what it feels like.
Right, and the reason why it feels that way is it gives you a level of safety, a feeling of, okay, this is familiar. This is not so strange, right?
Yeah.
Very, very similar. What I'm getting, Indra, is very similar to what the Kundalini does when she gives you a dismemberment, where she literally pulls your arms and legs off and, walks off with them. And what she'll do is she'll distract the individual. Like the one that I use is from a student who had her favorite stethoscope. She works in the medical field. And so
right.
she, the Shakti took her favorite stethoscope and just kind of like, rocked it back and forth in front of her eyes in the lucid state. And the lady's
right.
going, wow, that's my stethoscope. What's going on with that? And all the while, she's having her legs pulled off, or no, she's having her heart is being taken out of her chest. But the whole time she's being distracted with the stethoscope. So now with you, it's just a little bit different because, the Ajna chakra, the sixth chakra, the third eye, as people like to call it, that's an incredibly powerful area. And it's not powerful in the way that a rocket engine is powerful. It's powerful in what can be seen.
Yes.
The part that is a bit more challenging is to be able to understand what it is you're seeing. Because your only reference point really is what you've experienced here on this world. And the Ajna is like a billion worlds and dimensions.
Wow.
And the intricacies between the blending of dimensions, like say blending the astral and the physical, or the astral and the mental, or the astral and the divine, blah, blah, blah. And so you have to be very, 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 you don't want to get into it so much. And I think that's why a screen was kind of placed there for you as a way to keep you from jumping in to a scene from your ajna chakra.
Yes.
You want to sit back and you want to just watch. That's all you do. You don't believe. You don't believe because you don't know what is true. So you don't believe. You just observe.
Okay.
And you see how things go with that.
Right. But it's nothing scary though, eh?
Sometimes it's scary. Yeah, you bet. Fear is still kind of, still part of the process, or you wouldn't have even asked that question, eh?
Well, see, the thing is, I was for a while. I was going into those. I noticed I was going into realms where I was seeing scary faces. But this is the thing, and I don't know why, but this is the thing. I was able to get out of it, even though I was in a lucid sleep.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was.
Yeah, that's all right.
But honestly,
the faces are scary for some people. It's not scary for others. I mean, when I was in Peru, we did the Wachuma ceremony, which is the, you basically drink a cactus, and
right.
And it's supposed to be very, very powerful and all that. And God, it was just the most boring thing I'd ever done in my life. But at one point, because I went up to get second, because I was going, man, this stuff isn't working for me. I better have some more. Amelia was there, and I went up and I got more, and I sat back down, and it's like I got to see a few faces there, but I can see faces anytime. That's
right.
deal. So don't be afraid.
Yes.
Yeah. And don't try to program it either. People have this tendency, they want to. Wow, I want to see if I can see this, or I want to see if I can
do that. I did not do that. I stayed away from that because I wanted everything to unfold naturally.
Good. Perfect.
So,
Perfect.
Yeah, I didn't really go looking for anything. It happens as it happens. But I just noticed, like maybe 4 nights ago, like I'm in a lucid sleep, but it's like a screen, and I'm seeing these beautiful animals, and then I'm seeing like the ocean, and but I'm in a lucid sleep, and it's like it happens like
wonderful.
in flashes.
She's showing you now. She's got a movie that's with you in mind, and so don't try to create anything. Just let yourself observe. Shakti's in charge. Okay.
Okay. Yes,
right.
She is. Okay, thank you. I'm going to continue listening.
Oh, thank you. Okay. Put you into the Shiva Blues. Thank you. All right. Well, there you go. There you go. Wow. Ginger's really cooking with gas.
I had those screens as well, actually, Chrism, the television screen, for quite a while, and then at another point, a couple of them all at the same time, and you said the same to me back then. Just observe them; they are there, and I do think it was a way. Well, never mind; it doesn't matter. I don't want to project onto might or might not be coming, but just to say that yes, I've had the screens too. Yeah.
All right, next question.
Okay, next question. Right, so here we go. Okay. What time do we have? Okay. Right. Does acupuncture increase the Kundalini energy flow?
Well, it depends on what kind of an acupuncture treatment that you get. General acupuncture will follow pressure points and points of of energetic collection upon the body. And, the Chinese, have a whole diagram of all the different pressure points on the front and the back and on the hand and on the foot and in the face and on the top of the head and on the back and on the buttocks and the knees and the legs and, everything. And no, not so much with your typical acupuncture pattern. When I went to do acupuncture, I was given from my Kundalini to do a certain type of acupuncture. She would basically tell the acupuncturist, one, to spin the needle in, spin it to the right end, and then spin it to the left out. And so he'd spin the needle in, and then all the different needle patterns would be over chakras. So over the first, second, third, fourth, fifth, and sixth chakras were sacred geometrical shapes. Some would say sacred geometry is an intelligence and a creation, like we are a creation at the same time. Sacred geometry has that level of self-awareness to it. And anyway, so as those shapes went into my back, this was all strictly on the back, things started popping off the shelves in the office. Going airborne. The needles were flying around, in a box and things like that. And this practitioner was getting it as well. He was really getting kind of a Shaktipat out of the whole thing. So that was helpful, but having the other kind of acupuncture therapy, not so much. Now, unless you're already activated or awakened, you're going in there, and your Kundalini is saying yes, you need a standardized acupuncture treatment. Well, then I'd suggest you do that. But that may not be for a flow. That may be to eradicate a blockage or some other type of impediment to the flow that you should be having within that circumstance. Over.
Thank you, Chrism. I have a week with crisis of fear and anxiety in my chest and stomach. Can it be Kundalini? The doctor, they tell me everything is fine, but I am scared because I cannot live quiet. My past comes often and I do not know why. My mind is thinking about everything and that will kill me. I finish my day so tired about that, like I have two persons inside of me. Is this normal in Kundalini activation? Thank you.
Can you read the first part again?
Yes, I have had a week with crisis of fear and anxiety in my chest and stomach. Can it be Kundalini?
So we need to know if this person is, one, drinking caffeine. Okay. Did they answer that, whether or not they were drinking caffeine?
I didn't record this, Chrism. Sorry.
Oh, okay. So if they're drinking caffeine, they need to stop the caffeine. If they're taking a lot of spices in their food, well, then they need to bring their food into more of a less spicy quality. Yes, a level of paranoia can occur when the kidneys and the adrenals start to be worked on. You can have a level of anxiety, and that's just with the kidneys. But if you add caffeine into that mix, it's even worse. So you want to be very, very careful with any kind of caffeine. They put caffeine in cough syrup. They put it in medications. They put them in chocolate. They put caffeine, of course, in coffee and in black tea and in some white tea. Like jasmine tea is so full of caffeine, I cannot tell you. And that's just kind of a clear, goldish kind of a tea. So you really got to read your labels with regard to the caffeine. And so this person sounds to me like they're getting some sort of a caffeine source in their intake has some caffeine to it. And anyway, so as you hydrate and you eat watermelon, if you can get watermelon this time of year. Now, we still have watermelon this time of year in California, but I don't know where this person lives or whether they can get that. But if you can get the watermelon, definitely have it every day in the morning, just a slice or two. And the combination of ingredients within the watermelon will help to stabilize a person that is having Kundalini activity hit the adrenals and the kidneys. And just stay hydrated. Keep your electrolytes strong. Electrolytes are things like magnesium and calcium in the water, natural electrical conductors within the water. Keep that going strong. Keep your vitamin C complex going strong, vitamin B12, things of that nature, because the Kundalini at that time will be using a lot of the nutrients that the body would normally not use so much. But now, because the Kundalini's there, it's using them a lot. And so as you keep yourself stabilized and balanced within your food intake, your water intake, and your electrolytes and vitamin intake, you can pretty much handle the jolts of anxiety without letting them turn into fear. If you don't keep yourself balanced on intake and hydration and things of that nature, then it's much more of a compulsion to go into a fear state. The fact that you don't know what's occurring or what's causing that is also adding to the compulsion to go into fear. There's nothing to fear. Yes, this is normal within the Kundalini, within an unbalanced state, and certainly with caffeine inside of that equation, it can be, expanded really strongly. So do your best to avoid any and all caffeine and spices. Keep your food bland, and keep yourself hydrated with your vitamins and your electrolytes intact. Over.
Chrism, I was just thinking there as well. Oh, I have a feedback about a mantra a person could say, and I remember your surrender prayer.
Yeah,
and that
would
be
work.
very helpful.
Surrender prayer would work. Sure, that would work. It's on YouTube, so if you want to go to YouTube, you can hear that surrender prayer being spoken.
Yeah, Google surrender prayer Chrism, and it should come up. And I remember for a time using part of that as a mantra, because when you've got the mind doing what this person is saying, as well as all those things that Chrism is suggesting, like the watermelon and all the different things, I think it's good to occupy the mind with something really positive, like the surrender prayer, sentences from that, so it doesn't get to...
I support that completely. Good suggestion, Amelia. Yeah. Thank you.
Okay, so the next question, Chrism, is it true that deep breathing is absolutely essential for Kundalini awakening?
No, it's not true. I wasn't doing any deep breathing when mine activated and awakened. No, but it can be helpful. It's just not absolutely essential. I don't really enjoy saying anything is absolute, because Kundalini can come to us in so many different ways. Like that person that had the dream infusion, she wasn't deep breathing. She was having a dream. Now, she may have been deep breathing as she was sleeping, but the focus wasn't really on the breath. It was on the dream. So no, deep breathing isn't required for Kundalini awakening, but it can be helpful. When you're doing chakra breathing, there's a level of deep breathing there when you do the chakra breathing. So when you're touching your body and lightly pinching it and feeling that sensation before it fades, and you breathe right into it, well, there's a level of deep breathing that goes right along with that, and that can be very helpful. So I won't say that it's absolutely necessary, but I will say that it can be helpful. Yes.
Okay.
Over.
Thanks. I am detaching myself from old addictions, and it is hard. Any advice?
What are they doing with old addictions?
Detaching myself from old addictions.
Detaching themselves from old addictions. Any advice? Keep it going. Keep that detachment going. And when you feel like you're getting stressed or you're having the need to go back into the addiction, just say this mantra: I give myself to you, my Kundalini. Just say that over and over and over, and that will be very helpful for you. Over.
Thanks, Chrism. So a few years ago, I was dreaming of rattlesnakes. This symbol morphed in one of my dreams, and the lady or the gentleman put up the Ouroboros, the snake eating its own tail. So, and says, I still see it in my mind's eye and in my thoughts from time to time. I'm seeing rattlesnakes in my thoughts again. So I'm just curious if anyone could help me. Thank you in advance.
Well, I don't think there's any help that needs to be given. I mean, I don't see that as an emergency scenario, unless, and this is a big caveat here, if you have the Ouroboros as a tattoo on your foot, on your left foot, then you're in deep doo-doo.
Doo-doo. So, listeners, guess who has a tattoo of an Ouroboros on their left foot? The pint-swiveling Irish lady.
But the people that have that, boy, you got to watch out for them.
Yes, I got that.
The Ouroboros represents the complete circuit, the sacred circuit, the almost like the snake is eating its tail. Well, the tail is where our Kundalini lies dormant, and it's the spine eating the Kundalini that is really accentuating the entire circle of the serpent or of the spine. And so, this is a very positive shape for Kundalini awakening, certainly within the dream state. So I would go with that. I think that I'd be rejoicing and grateful for that. Thankful. Over.
Thanks, Chrism. This was on the same thread, but I think it was a different person, so I'm going to ask anyway. Is it normal to go through a completion more than once? I find it strange to see symbol long ago, but still feel like I'm going through the process, almost like a daily event of something new. Is it a lack of acceptance that I don't feel like the transition is complete, completely misinterpreting it all? Guidance, please.
I'll just go with that. The transition should never feel complete while you're in the body. Now, you may come to a place of a plateau where you're not getting any phenomena, you're not feeling anything, nothing's happening to you, nothing's coming to you, and that's basically a place of processing. But the transformation happens for the entire life of the individual from 8 to 80 years old. I mean, it's the entire life. It's not just a portion of the life where you get to have the Kundalini, then it goes away. No. This never goes away, ever. And so, this person needs to understand that and stop kind of trying to pigeonhole the Kundalini into only lasting a certain amount of time. Not how it works. This goes on and on and on, and it follows you into death. After that white shark eats you, Santara, then your Kundalini will come with you into the next expression.
Yay. Okay, Chrism, thank you.
Yay.
What white shark?
A poor beagle.
Okay.
A poor beagle shark.
Oh, gosh, okay. Now, there's, I'm just trying to put this together. So if somebody is feeling, Chrism, tired, and uninspired, and then you say to them, tiredness is challenging and sometimes inspiration isn't forthcoming, apathy sets in, so what needs to happen? And the person says, well, I used to think I knew, but I don't know anymore. What would one say to that? What would you say to somebody like that? That's, I think, feeling that way, tired and just doesn't know, and apathetic and tired within a Kundalini context, without knowing the details.
I would tell them to start doing some walks in nature, and I would have them do some selfless service for other people, like volunteering. And I would just basically kind of have them get their mind off themselves for a while. Get their mind out of the expectation that something should be happening. And give service to another person, or give service by recognizing nature and its diversity of assistance to a Kundalini person. That's what I would have them do.
Chrism, thank you. Would you talk a little bit about, selfless service and the importance of that, and why do it in a Kundalini context?
It takes your mind. For people that are depressed or severely depressed, or really locked into a form of deep, deep, deep depression, selfless service is a gift of love that is not for you. You are giving selfless service. You're spending the time of your life helping another person. I don't care if it's 5 minutes. I mean, you're helping another person. And this is taking your thoughts off of you. Often when we're depressed is because we can't take our mind off of a problem that we feel that we're having, because it's unsolved, or in some way it's not allowing us to forget it and move on. That could be pain. Pain can be a very depressing type of thing. And so as you begin to do selfless service for other people, you take the focus of your energetic off of yourself and place it on somebody else. In a helpful, compassionate, kind, considerate, loving way. And as you do this, a reflection from the person you're helping and their energetic showers over you. And it begins to really, really, really heal you. So in this context, if you give a healing, then you're going to get a healing. And that's one reason, not all the reasons, but that's one of the reasons why selfless service is so important. Over.
Thank you, Chrism. I was reading the Kundalini Safeties and noticed the ringing. I've been experiencing ringing and humming in my ears for years. Every day, more so at night. I've mentioned to doctors, but nothing comes of it. Sometimes it's louder than the norm, sometimes a soft hum, right now medium pitch. Any suggestions to quiet it? And I get white swirls in my eyes.
No, you should not. See, they think something's
I know.
wrong. So
I should stop.
I got to get rid of this. It's like, it'd be like Indra. It's like, oh, geez. I'm seeing all these beautiful animals on this TV screen behind my eyes at night. It's like, oh my God, I want to stop this. Please. So humming is normal. Humming and some of the other sounds like you have with the nada or the naad, or the nada, it can be very beautiful levels of harmony and just these extremely high frequencies. I'm hearing them right now. And and I'm not like, oh my God, I've got to stop this. It's just this awareness of people. When they get a phenomena, they don't understand. It becomes something bad. Oh God, I've got to stop this. I got to put a stop to that. I say let the humming occur. Enjoy the humming. Let the humming be a communication from your Kundalini to you, and be grateful for it. Don't try to stop it. Don't try to destroy a gift that's been given to you for years and years. It's probably driving you to explore Kundalini further. Just because it's something that is unknown and the doctors don't know what it is doesn't make it bad or fearful. You need to take yourself out of those qualities and begin to find levels of gratitude and appreciation. Over.
Thanks, Chrism. Well, the same person says I get white swirls in my eyes, white balls of light. The chair next to me just made a sound of someone standing up, but I'm alone.
Yeah. Well, there you go. I mean, phenomena is occurring. Now, that would be a frightening thing for people to experience, like a door opening and closing behind you as you're standing in the hall. The first thing you're thinking of is, oh, there's a ghost here, or something like that, and that'll make all the hair on your neck stand up, and you'll be going, oh, WTF is that? And your adrenals will start kicking out that adrenaline, and you have the fight or flee, and you'll have the fear that's associated with fight or flee. And so I understand how that can work. But trust your Kundalini. Trust your Kundalini. That's the main thing. Trust your Kundalini. And if you need a mantra to help you deal with fear, then let me know, and I'll give you a mantra that will help you deal with fear. Over.
Great. Thank you very much, Chrism. I just saw one on the group there. So how much time? We're out of time. Yeah.
We're out of time. Yeah. Any last words, Satara?
The only last word I have really is, if Callie Koo is happening to listen to this, if she tunes in, could she get in touch? I'd love to speak with her. That's it.
Well, what's wrong with Callie Koo?
She's gone from Facebook, and I'd like to say hi to her, and I don't know how to contact her.
Okay. All right.
I know she used to listen, so Callie, if you happen to be listening to this.
Callie Koo, we love you, my dear.
We do.
All right. I'd like to thank everybody who came into the chat room today. Andrew and Atlanta Seeker, David, and the person from Sweden, Michelle, Ovaltine, Tajera, Tim Ashworth, and Vismaya Vijayra. Sorry, I destroyed that. Let's see. Vishmaya Vijayra. I don't know. But thank you for coming in. And thank you, dear Amelia Pantara Kundalini. I'm very grateful for all of you. Yes?
Vismaya Vijayra actually sent in a question, and I didn't put it down. So that'll be top of the list next week. Okay? Apologies to you, Vismaya.
We just ran out of time because Chrism just talks so long and laboriously about these things. But love to all of you. Love to all of you. And may, if you're celebrating Thanksgiving, may your holiday season be a very beautiful experience for you and your family. And may we also export our holiday of gratitude to Ireland and England and France and Sweden and Italy and all the places in Europe. May we all be grateful for the sacred grace that Kundalini is within us. And any last words besides Callie Koo?
No, thank you very much, Chrism. Thank you. No.
All right. And then I'll end it the way we started. And here we go.